Hello, and welcome to Vote Voiced. My name is Donna Miller. This is the Vote Voiced podcast. Vote Voiced is a 501c3 nonprofit. We are nonpartisan. I thank you so much for joining us. We are honored to have you, and it is a pleasure to have you here. You can follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. We are on TikTok. You can visit us at www.votevoice.com. And I thank you very much for all of your support and donations and your wonderful comments and even your criticisms. Assist me in making a better podcast. Yesterday, December 6th, 2021, we saw an attempted coup. What we saw was someone trying to take away the voice of millions of Americans who cast their votes in the November general election 2020. Your vote is your voice. Your vote is the one superpower you have. Is worth its weight in gold. Unfortunately, yesterday, there were a group of voters who decided that they weren't going to respect the voice of the people, and they weren't going to respect the Electoral College. That's kind of ironic if you think about it. You have a group of people trying to stop the Electoral College, which, when the Electoral College puts someone in office that a few politicians might agree with, then all of a sudden the Electoral College is king. I have said on this podcast before that I support abolishing the Electoral College. People are always talking about how many people voted for this politician or the next. That's the popular vote. It is my opinion that if we elect our politicians, especially in the general election, our president and vice president, elect them with the popular vote, there would not be a vehicle to be used against our democracy. Now, there used to be a time when you could argue that we needed the Electoral College. We do not need the Electoral College any longer. There are enough people in rural areas to voice their vote and have their voice be the last word. The 2020 general presidential election was very close. Everyone had an equal voice. The election was not rigged. Everyone voted. It has been through the courts repeatedly. And it is heartbreaking and it made me angry to see what was happening on January 6th. There was physical destruction of the Capitol, such blatant disrespect of American property, disrespect of our elected officials. And it also was a glaring example of racial injustice in America, because the way that Black Lives Matter demonstrators have been treated, who have been peaceful, it is a glaring example of how people with disabilities are treated and seen in this country. Because as we remember, the Capitol Police carried out protesters who were handicapped in such a violent and disrespectful way. But yet yesterday, it was obvious that nothing was being done to stop the rioters on the Capitol, breaking windows, knocking down doors inside of our elected officials' offices, rifling through their papers. Such disrespect and destruction. I know that there are going to be comparisons to the Trump supporters, and that's who they were. Different people, the Proud Boys were there. President Trump would not do anything to stop them. Vice President Pence had to step in. It's so sad. We are such an embarrassment on the world stage. But you know, our behavior is dangerous, not only to ourselves, that behavior, it's also dangerous to the world, because the world is watching us. And if we tell people to be peaceful protesters, and yet they see Trump supporters in such a destructive behavior, it's unspeakable. Like I said, it made me angry that they were destroying our country in this way. And it made me angry to realize that we have spent years listening to Trump supporters and Donald Trump himself vilify athletes who take a knee in peaceful protest. How people have been arrested in Black Lives Matter, black and white, for peaceful protesting. How in Washington, when Black Lives Matter was scheduled to march, they had the National Guard on the stairs of the Capitol, versus with the Trump supporters. It appears that they basically ushered them in. We have much work to do, ladies and gentlemen. This is not something we can allow to let go. And you know what else? There were Republican elected officials egging on the Trump supporter riots. Or I should say riot. Now, there were reports of Trump supporters rioting in other states, Arizona, Philadelphia. There is a photograph of a politician, a Republican politician, giving off some sort of a fisted sign of approval. Donald Trump sent out a recording saying, "I love you." It is reported that he was enjoying the carnage. People, our vote is not for sale. Our vote cannot be frightened out of us. And democracy will prevail. I have never, ever lived without experiencing peaceful transition. We've had a peaceful transition since the 1700s when Thomas Jefferson gave a speech basically calling for calm and reconciliation after a very contentious election. There was an issue about the results, but when it was solved, he gave a wonderful speech, peaceful transition. It is an American tradition and a tradition that many other countries go by. Peaceful transition in England. When their prime ministers go and come. Anybody watch The Crown? How many prime ministers has the Queen of England had in her tenure as queen and will have? Right now she's on Boris Johnson. Peaceful transition. The Republican Party needs to respect it. The Republican base needs to respect peaceful transition, and Donald Trump needs to respect it. Everyone around him. It's amazing that they do not. The gentleman in charge of the Capitol Police, he has been called to resign by Speaker Pelosi, and he said he was resigning, and I believe he's leaving January 16th. Other people have resigned from the Trump administration. Well, it took them long enough, didn't it? This is what happens when we allow a bully to do whatever he wants. They're trying to remove him from office now, but if they do not, we still have 13 more days. And we have no idea what this man will do to hold on to power. Power that has been taken from him through a legitimate election. And everyone, it is up to us. It is up to cooler heads to prevail. It is up to us, Those of us who love this country, those of us whose blood is in the ground of this country, one way or another. As a descendant of slaves, my blood is in the ground of this country. And I will uphold its democracy, and I will uphold the right of you and I to vote. We need to abolish the Electoral College. Now, when we abolish the Electoral College, it will allow for the public to choose, the voter to choose based on popular vote. And then there should be no more issues. Every state has to agree, or I should say they need enough states to agree to obtain a certain amount of, basically, I'm going to call them points. And when they achieve a certain amount of points from each state, then they can hopefully take it to Washington and do something with it. I know that's a vague explanation, but go ahead and Google Abolish the Electoral College for me. I had no idea, people, that the first podcast of 2021 would be about Trump supporters rioting, destroying the Capitol, Capitol Police not stopping them, and a glaring open wound of racial injustice spewing out everywhere. To the Black Lives Matter and all other peaceful protesters, women protesting, the LGBTQ community protesting, you guys, all of us, peaceful protest. They owe you an apology. When you watch the glaring injustice of privilege, people who actually think that they can do anything because they're white. One woman said they have her down on record as saying, well, they shouldn't be attacking us, talking about the police. They should be attacking Black Lives Matter. We're patriots. No, madam, you're a criminal. You're a traitor. This is sedition. Why is it every time someone wants to destroy this country, they're walking through the halls of the Capitol with a Confederate flag? Shame on you. Shame. People, we're going to continue to move forward. This is January 7th, 2021. We are going to protect our votes. We have lots of work to do. All of us, black, brown, red, and yellow. We are going to continue to use our vote as our voice. I want to say thank you to Georgia voters. I want to say thank you to Stacey Abrams and everyone in her crew. I want to say thank you to all the volunteers who are out there phone banking, texting, everything, walking door to door. I want you guys to stay safe in this pandemic. God bless you. This is Donna Miller with Vote Voice.